updates on any cases that have come your way or you've heard about.
Okay,
How's
sure.
that? Okay. So we're recording, and I'll grab the Bivens. Give me 1 sec. Okay, here we go, folks. This meeting is private. Bearing false witness, misrepresentation, and posting inflammatory rhetoric in public forums is forbidden and shall be addressed in an appropriate manner. To eliminate all conflict and false allegations, is there anyone in attendance at tonight's meeting that is a member or agent of any law enforcement agency or federal, state, country, city, township, or agency present? This is also for notary, poll workers, school board members, anyone who has signed an oath to the de facto government. Please raise your hand, say your name, and state your position. One more time. This meeting is private. Bearing false witness, misrepresentation, posting inflammatory rhetoric in public forums is forbidden and shall be addressed in an appropriate manner. To eliminate all conflict and false allegations, is there anyone in tonight's meeting that is a member or agent of any law enforcement agency of the federal, state, county, or city, or township agency present? This is also for notary, poll workers, school board members, anyone who has signed an oath to the de facto government. Please raise your hand, say your name, and state your position. And one last time, I promise. This meeting is private. Bearing false witness, misrepresentation, and posting inflammatory rhetoric in public forums is forbidden and shall be addressed in an appropriate manner. To eliminate all conflict, false allegations, is there anyone in tonight's meeting that is a member or agent of any law enforcement agency of a federal, state, county, city, or township agency present? Perfect. This is also for notary, poll workers, school board members, anyone who has signed an oath to the de facto government. Please raise your hand, say your name, and state your position. Perfect. And our prayer tonight is, please, God, allow us to keep our eyes open and our ears open for us to hear information with a blessed heart, as it shall be done. Amen.
Let it be done.
Let it be done. There we go. I'm going to get that right sooner or later. Sorry about that, Glenn. I'm practicing, right?
Yeah, no biggie, no biggie. I try not to say the name of the pagan god, so that's why I don't say amen. But we're all saying that we agree and let it be done, and so that's all I say. I just say let it be done.
I know I catch my tongue doing that, but it's indoctrination. You know, we've talked about that. Don't get me going, Glenn.
It's a habit. It's a habit. No doubt about it. So there was we were talking today in the at the event. I'm just looking for it here. There was a case that we talked about today that thought would be interesting. There we go. So I got to, I'm doing an amended complaint. And I just want to share my screen here. So I don't know if all you know that all federal courts are territorial. And if you think about it, they're all corporations, so they all fall under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3, Commerce Clause, because they're corporations by definition. But this is actually a court case that talks about it. I'm going to bring this up in the United States District Court is not a true United States court established under Article 3 to administer the judicial power of the United States, but was created by virtue of the sovereign congressional faculty granted under Article 4, Section 3, making all needful rules and regulations respecting the territory belong to the United States. So it's not an Article 3 court. And I dare say there's no Article 3 judges there either. Matter of fact, that's what I told them in my petition, in my lawsuit that I filed.
You did.
Yeah. So
you're not concerned about any backlash that might.
Well, actually, I think they like it when you tell them that when you understand what's going on and you tell them up front. You know what I mean? I've never when I went and FedEx removed a case from state court into federal court, and I went and filed my first filing. I have nothing but contempt for you and your so-called court. And you have an inferior court of limited jurisdiction and everything you do is brutal Pullman. And the judge came back. It was so nice to me. I couldn't believe it. I felt guilty afterwards.
No, I wouldn't want to be I said I would like to be a fly on the wall and not that.
So anyways, and I think this judge is sympathetic. I think that, it's hard to say, but I think he's sympathetic and he's been helping me, reminding me to do stuff and to check these rules and make sure that I make my filings that are according to the rules and that kind of stuff. And so I think he's sympathetic, but, anyways. I just thought I'd mention that. So I'm doing a second amended petition. And right now there's a bunch of people appearing and trying to get it dismissed. I went and I sued the Texas Department of Public Safety, the chief, the director, and the attorney general appeared and wanted to get it dismissed because I served it by registered mail, and the judge, I shouldn't have served it. Okay, that was my defect. It was a defect of service, and so I said, well, I apologize. I'm doing it differently. And the judge went and told me he actually told me how many days I have to still affect service. I got till the 2nd of January. That was very nice of him. So now I know exactly how many days I have to affect service. But I told in the lawsuit, I said that if any government attorneys appear on behalf of these people that are being sued in their private capacity, that I'd file felony criminal complaints for misappropriation of public funds and other remedies against them. And I said to the attorney general, I said, but since they've notified me about my error, and I appreciate that I'm not going to seek those other remedies that I was going to seek. But that's assuming that they'll repent of their error by representing the McCraw when he's being sued in his private capacity. and I never heard a peep out of him. No response. So they're backing off. You see what I'm saying? And so that's good. That's good. So
this is pertaining to your land, correct?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
That is
well, I filed criminal complaints, and they ignored them all. And I sent them to the director of the Texas Department of Public Safety, and they got ignored. And so now that's why I'm suing him. He's ignoring them. And so there's consequences to ignoring them. And especially when I tell them that Will Livingston, that ratified the Constitution for New Jersey, is my fourth great uncle. And that means that I'm posterity, as found in the preamble. That creates a major, major problem for them. And then, and let me share you, because so you see this part. I want to change it to the amended counterclaim, because so I started off and I said that this action's a collateral attack brought because of a void judgment, and the this District of Columbia corporate so-called court, and so I'm going to add in that territorial court citation here to support it, and this is the Congress shall have power to dispose of and make all needful rules. So this is Article 4, Section 3, Clause 2. This is their authority to operate, and so they need to take care of business. That's what I'm telling them. I want you to take care of business. You're supposed to be taking care of this, and which is the supreme law of the land under Article 6, Clause 2, and then I list all the felonies that they're involved in, that these Montague County, I list all of the reasons why they should have jurisdiction in this matter. And but I also talk about about how I am posterity. How they're assaulting me with their zip code, trying to get me into their Commerce Clause. Will Livingston, who ratified this Constitution on behalf of New Jersey, is the demandant's fourth great uncle, which means the demandant is posterity, as found in the preamble, which means the wrongdoers are using civil laws against the demandant. And I'm entitled to right of blood, and no civil law is supposed to can be used against right of blood, and the wrongdoers are operating under power which derive from the demandant, and under this McCullough versus Maryland, and I'm going to stress this a little bit more, that I cannot, even if I wanted to, confer a sovereignty which will extend over me under McCullough versus Maryland, the Supreme Court. Consequently, the people of a single state cannot confer a sovereignty which will extend over them. That means that even if I wanted to, I couldn't. It doesn't say unless I agree to it. It says that I cannot do it, because their authority comes from me, and if they try and impose something like that on me, then that's called treason. That's breach of trust. Anyways, and I'm going to go after these lawyers bar card. I'm going to tell them I want these lawyers disbarred. They're supposed to know better, and they have no excuse. And don't give me that crap. They're supposed to know better. I want them disbarred, and that's why I'm going to add. I added the state bar, and I'm going to add the Board of Disciplinary Appeals, which reviews these bar grievances, and I'm going to add the State Commission on Judicial Conduct, because they're all just nothing but bar members that are trying to take over the government. Anyways, don't get me going. So the people of a single state cannot confer a sovereignty which will extend over them. I cannot do it, even if I wanted to. No contract. There is no contract.
Yeah, we were talking about that last night and then early this morning in here about them not having any jurisdiction for any tax on any lands whatsoever on any of our labor. I dropped the information that we were speaking on to you in your Telegram page. So try to get out that video, because it could give you another avenue to throw in there regarding, there's no jurisdiction for collecting any tax on anything. We're exempt. And apparently there was a ruling in August that where they set a precedent-setting case on it, and he mentions that in there. So I know you'll be very delighted to. You probably aren't even familiar with it, and I've only seen it once, so I can't relay it correctly. So I want you to speak.
So that's
it's only like 20 minutes, so it won't take much of your time. But
that's that YouTube video that you. That's that YouTube video that you put on my Telegram channel.
Yeah, just now. Did you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna give you some more info here. So get that in there too, because I know you like to action or load up all your documents, and that'll give you some extra load.
Says here in this video, I explain why every single civil and criminal income tax case for the last 65 years has been constitutional fraud conducted by a court without subject matter jurisdiction, because the Supreme Court ruled in June of this year, 2024, that's the one you're talking about?
Yeah, it was June, not August. Sorry, apologies.
Okay. I'll definitely look at that. Yeah. So anyways, I am doing a second amended counterclaim, and we'll see what happens. I think this judge is sympathetic. I need to follow his rules a little bit more carefully, but I'm not a lawyer, and so I'll remind him that, and I'll beg forgiveness. I mean, you can beg forgiveness in these admiralty courts, and they have to forgive you. But so I'll make sure. The only thing is that, with this motion practice stuff, they have all these local rules you have to follow, and but it gets complicated if you have a motion that's more than 10 pages, because you got to put in a table of authorities and an index and all sorts of crap, and so I'll try and keep the motion to less than 10 pages, which shouldn't be too hard. But if it gets over 10 pages, then I need to start adding in that stuff, It's a bit of a nuisance, but I know how to do it. It's not like I don't know how to do it, that's for sure. I'm actually pretty good with Microsoft Word. I had training when I was doing the engineering stuff for Eaton. They gave us training on how to use Microsoft Word.
Nice. That must have been nice to have us get paid to learn that.
Yeah, that was nice. It wasn't very long. It was like about a half an hour. They just went through it really quickly, but they just gave us some ideas on how to use it. Microsoft Word is actually a very powerful program, and I wrote my book in Microsoft Word, and I put in a table of contents and a table of figures, and a table of authorities, and so I got tables at the front and at the back. And it was really simple. Once you understand how to do it, it's really simple. All that stuff just automatically populates itself once you set it up right. And so it's not that complicated.
Yeah, no, you don't. You make me jealous with how you can fly through these documents. So, but when you're done going through this, I want you to explain to folks why you sending it through the mail directly to the judge had caused an issue, because, how else are we supposed to get it to them?
Well, they want you to do electronic filing. That's easier for the clerks, and it's actually easier and simpler because then everybody does electronic filing, and what happens is that then the copy is a perfect copy, and so then service is affected when you file it, because then they're notified by email, and then they have to go and get their copy from the email and read it, and they can respond. It's all handled in email. So it's actually, a lot simpler. But in order for me to set up electronic filing, and that's what I told them when I filed that motion, or that response to their requirement for electronic filing, I said, sure, no problem. I'll do electronic filing when you give me your statutory and delegated authority to require me to get a Social Security number, because I need a Social Security number to get a bank account and to do the KYC to do the electronic filing. And so so I just went through and put all that stuff in there. And I'm a man, and no man has a bank account, no man has a Social Security number. And oh, by the way, I want you to go after all these banks that closed my bank accounts because I didn't give them a Social Security number. And so you go after these like 14 banks that closed my bank account because I failed to give them a Social Security number. And I filed criminal complaints against them. I don't know. Have you seen that motion? I could go through that if you want. But it worked pretty good. I haven't heard a peep out of them about the electronic filing.
Yeah, me rolling in my seat.
So what I did is when I file something, I have to go down to the court, and the clerks have to look at all the copies and make sure that they're all the same. And so what I'll have to do from New Jersey now is I'll have to send them by certified mail, and I'll send them by first class mail. I'll send the filing for the court. I'll send that one by certified mail and priority mail too, because I want to make sure they get it quick. Because once the court gets it, then they'll have it. And then me sending it by first class mail, the first class mail is slower than 7 years itch these days. So but I don't care. As long as the court gets it, then they're going to get it. And so I'll just send it to the court, and by certified mail to show that it's been received, and that's all I need is evidence that the court received it, and then I'll send it by first class mail to the other respondents. I got to prepare a couple things and file them this week, and I got to call up my mail place and have them forward my mail to me here in New Jersey. I got to call them tomorrow and do that. I'm going to step aside for a minute, and I'll be right back.
Gotcha. Anybody see John come on? I invited him. They did that to me regarding getting my birth certificate authenticated. I tried to send in a paper application for it, and they sent everything back saying I needed to do it electronically.
See, the biggest thing that you don't want to do the electronic filing is because you have to give part of a social security number, and you have to have a credit card, and you can't get a credit card without a social security number, and they know it, and so you're giving them evidence that you're in the Commerce Clause, and so then they say, oh, he's a U.S. citizen, and so then all of a sudden their taxes are legal. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not going to give them. I'll go to whatever extent I have to. I'm not going to give them evidence that I'm one of their slaves, and that's what I'm going to be complaining about, is that they assault me with their Commerce Clause, and I have to go into the District of Columbia to defend myself, and I want these damn bar members disbarred because they're supposed to know better. Anyways, don't get me going.
Yeah, Glenn, I want to charge him with paper terrorism.
Well, it's called barratry. For a lawyer, it's called barratry. And it's equivalent to chasing ambulances. They need to go find somebody, and they're supposed to know better. And so I'm gonna charge them with barratry, and I'm going to charge these Montague County thieves. This is one thing that this guy that I know recently got a case dismissed. The cop gave him a ticket for no driver's license and no registration on his vehicle, and he filed criminal complaints for practicing law without a license, right? So you think about it, that cop is making legal determinations, and that's practicing law, and the cop doesn't have a license. And so he filed, and they dropped the case. And so I think that's a brilliant move.
Yeah, you know what they're called up here, right? Mobile Revenue Enforcement Officers.
Well, you can still go after them for practicing law without a license. I guarantee you, even in Canada. And if they're not a lawyer, they don't have a license. And I don't care what kind of training they've had. You look it up, practicing law without a license, and see what in the Canadian codes. I guarantee you, there's crimes. And matter of fact, I'm going to tell my brother about that. Practicing law without a license.
On the roadside, yeah.
That's right. That's right. That cop is practicing law without a license.
Look how they attack the medical profession, right? Anybody who suggests anything of a herbal type of remedy, then they're practicing medical. They're practicing without a license there also. So they hit down hard on that profession. So we got to get them back.
Well, I would accuse them of practicing law without a license, okay? Because it's still practicing law. They're charging you with a charge under they're threatening to under their criminal code, and so I like practicing law without a license. Practicing medicine without a license is a little bit harder to prove. I mean, they could get somebody that's a doctor that comes and complains about it. You see what I'm saying? And so then the doctor definitely has a license. But practicing law without a license, the doctor doesn't have a license to practice law. And so if he's going to charge you under their law, then that's practicing law without a license. And so I would be more inclined to go after them for practicing law without a license. If they're going to charge you with anything under their codes, that's practicing law. And if it's not a lawyer, then he's practicing law without a license.
You know about the AAMVA, right, Glenn?
The AA what?
MVA, the
Never
American
heard of it.
Automobile Association. They handle all, that's the public or the private association that pays all of our police officers in 5 countries: Australia, Canada, Mexico, and the US. And I don't know the other one, I forget. But yeah, I'll send you the details on those guys. They don't like it when you mention their private club association. AAMVA.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. Maybe I'll do a search while we're talking here.
Yeah, I brought that up a couple of times, but I also put that on my ticket that they hammered me with, I told you about 2 years ago.
American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators.
Yeah, now check in what their mandate is.
Let's see here. I want to find a colleague. Isn't that interesting?
That's where their paychecks come from. And that's who the municipalities hire for their surveillance. Okay? Because it's all private membership.
Founded in 1933, the AAMVA represents the state, provincial, territorial officials in the United States, Canada, who administer and enforce motor vehicle laws. AAMVA's programs encourage uniformity and reciprocity among states and provinces. Association also serves as a liaison for other levels of government and private sector. Well, that's very interesting.
I'm glad I brought it up. I'll send you the details that I have about it.
You want me to share the screen here? I can share their website if you want.
Yep, bring it forward. Bring it forward. It cannot be mentioned enough because a lot of folks don't know that that's how the mobile revenue officers are operating on our roadside. And they know what AAMVA is all about. It's on their paychecks. But I mentioned that in my letter to rescind my ticket that I was granted that one afternoon. And I never got an invitation into court, Glenn. So
here is
what are the 5 countries again?
Well, it's talking about Canada and the United States here, and it shows. I'm showing the map of on there right now of there's 5 for the board of directors, the regions. Whoops, what happened? There we go. This is the Region 1 board. Other members, jurisdiction members, associate members, our staff.
England, that's it. That's also England. UK.
Yeah, this is very interesting. Thank you for bringing this to my attention.
You taught me well, Mr. Fern.
Well, it's out there. A lot of times they have to tell you,
but they never do.
Well, by putting it on the internet, that satisfies their requirements. It says here, founded in 1933, AAMVA represents state, provincial, and territorial officials in the United States and Canada, who administer and enforce motor vehicle laws. AAMVA's programs encourage uniformity and reciprocity among states and provinces. Association also serves as a liaison with other levels of government and the private sector with development and research activities, provide guidelines for more effective public service. Membership includes associations, organizations, and businesses that share an interest in the association's goals. So that sounds like a North American Union thing, right?
Private membership.
Here is the 2024 report. Oh, they want me to log in. I guess I'm not going to be doing that. Standards to enable members to securely share driver, vehicle, and identity verification data with organizations. So that gives you the real ID stuff.
Yeah, that's where they're using those Stingray machines on their cars up here.
It's interesting. I have a Mexican driver's license, and my Mexican driver's license doesn't have an expiration date. It says under the expiration date, it says permanent, and it doesn't have an address on it. It has an issuing office. So when I present that, if the cop, I haven't been stopped, but friends of mine told me that when you present a Mexican driver's license, the cop will give it back and say, "Have a nice day," because they can't do anything about it. You know what I mean?
That's a good way around it.
So it looks like it's just Canada and the United States, though. See, there's the, doesn't even say anything about Mexico. It's got, what's this here? That looks like 5 U.S. territories, 10 Canadian provinces, 3 Canadian territories, and the agencies within those jurisdictions who administer and enforce motor vehicle laws. It's organized into 4 regions.
Whose laws, Glenn?
Well, that's a good question. It's Region 1. Virgin Islands, West Virginia, Puerto Rico. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. The rest of them are states. That's Region 2. Well, that's interesting. You could surf around this area. Real ID.
No mention on that site, or my site. Last time I was on that site, it looked quite a bit different. So they're revamping all the time, but there's no mention of any police policy manual, which is something that's, in our charter up here, right? And it's got to be listed in every country in a different format. And, in their constitution. So that's how I know some other friends that have ended up in this predicament have approached it, is by stating, I'm the only one that used the AAMVA, but stating about they're not using the police policy manual, and them not even the roadside enforcement officers not even knowing what that book is, okay? Because they were asking them, is this part of your police policy manual? And they can't answer. So that's another avenue you can go to.
Interesting. Well, that's very interesting.
You've got to post the laws pertaining the electronic filing in your room for us too, please.
Sorry?
Can you post the wording or the document that you've embedded the electronic controversy that you've put in your amended document?
Sure.
Awesome.
I'll upload that right now while we're talking about it.
Yeah, because I'll forget.
I'll give you a Word file because then you can manipulate it.
Okay, I actually know what that is now, Glenn. In 2018, you know how that messed me up? I had to go and take a computer programming course so I could understand and get to half the level that you are.
So it's a response to impecuniosity interrogatory, but it's got the other stuff in there about the electronic filing and everything.
Okay, I'll probably go through it.
And what they do is I actually paid the filing fee, but they had sent me this impecuniosity application, so I responded to both of them on the same document, and so there's two orders that they gave me. One is an impecuniosity to fill out the impecuniosity form with all sorts of. They want to know who your wife is, who your kids are. You want to know all your creditors and debtors and all sorts of crap. And I used to put NA in every block on those things and attach an affidavit saying I don't have income, but I do get compensation for labor, and that kind of stuff. And that worked a couple times, but after that it didn't work anymore. And so now I just tell them, look, no problem, I'll fill it out. You just give me your statutory and delegated. Give me a Fourth Amendment warrant that requires me to disclose this information, and I'll be glad to give it to you. And all of a sudden, they don't say anything. You know what I mean?
You could go the route that some are doing and say, well, I can do that, no problem, but I don't work for free, so my booking fee is a 2-hour minimum, and I charge $500 per hour. As soon as I get that in my hands, we'll sit down and get that done for you.
Yeah, but I think that would work against you because, the real issue is they don't have authority to ask for that stuff. If you're doing that, you're saying you do have authority. You know what I mean? And when they don't have authority, when you're pointing out that no problem, when you give me a Fourth Amendment warrant with a court seal signed by a judge, then I'll be glad to give it to you. And so when they're operating, they work in operating in more than one capacity. And sometimes they're working as a clerk and sometimes they're working as a judge. And they don't tell you But when they're asking for that stuff, they're working as a clerk, and so no problem. When you give me something signed by a judge, I'll be glad to do it. And they never do, and because
So
they
my
can't.
hands aren't clean by even stating that?
Sorry?
My hands aren't clean by just stating that?
Exactly. Clean hands. I'll be back in a second.
Gotcha. Rick, could you please invite John for me? He has a document I want to see if he can pull up for me. I tried, and he hasn't replied.
Talking about happy?
Happy, yep. Thank you much. I want to show Glenn. I have it too, but John's just so much faster than I am.
So why don't we read those orders? I'll share them on the screen, and you can see what those orders look like, and then my response, and you can see what I'm talking about. Let me pull them up here. Okay, here's one of them. Let me get them both first, and then that way... yeah, okay. Okay, so this is the first one. This is the one for the impecuniosity form. Filed a civil complaint on September 16th. After review, the following deficiencies appear. Plaintiff has not paid the applicable filing and administrative fee or filed a long form application. So they want me to copy this order, mail to the plaintiff. No further process shall issue except upon order of the court. A long form in form of pauperous application. It is hereby ordered that the plaintiff either pay the total filing and administrative fee or complete all the sections. And this is the form. They want to know your income, your spouse, your kids, all sorts of stuff. I tell them, I don't have a spouse, but I am happily married, joined in holy matrimony, you know, that kind of stuff. And I get compensation for labor, but I don't work for the government, you know. Anyway, so I NA'd everything. I can show you one that I did, but it doesn't work anymore. So we'll and then the other one.
I heard just last night that the NA thing was working.
Yeah, it hasn't been working for me. Probably because I've been doing it too much or something. But anyways, here's the other one. So this is just your suit was filed on 16, assigned to Reed O'Connor. These instructions do not include everything you need to know to pursue your case, but following them may help you avoid common mistakes. Civil filing talks about civil filing address change, rules to follow. Where's the talk about? Here. After you filed your complaint, unless you're excused for cause or the presiding judge directs otherwise, you must register as an electronic case files user within 14 days. You may register online with the website. File any pleading motion or other paper or electronically. Electronic filings not permitted in a case assigned to the doctorate of John McBride. Well, I don't have him. He's actually dead, so I don't know why they have that there. Anyways, so that's
Glenn. It's a template that they send out.
Sorry?
It's probably a template.
Well, it is, yeah, it is. Anyways, so it's the usual stuff here. So and so then my response and we'll just go through the Word file. So this is the Word file. Response to the District of Columbia Corporate Clerk's impecuniosity interrogatory and electronic filing agenda. Impecuniosity interrogatory. The demandant will gladly complete the impecuniosity interrogatory when the District of Columbia clerks masquerading as judges, when they provide a bona fide Article 4 and amendment search warrant signed by an Article 3 judge with a court seal as required by the Authentications Act, requiring the demandant to provide any personal information based on probable cause of a crime, supported by the oath or affirmation of a competent witness, fails to be a government employee, and it must include the specific information required. And this is the Fourth Amendment talking about that the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable search and seizure shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. And then the electronic filing agenda. The demandant will gladly complete the electronic filing requirements of the District of Columbia clerks masquerading as judges when they provide the law that requires the demandant to get or use a Social Security number for their electronic filing in order to get a credit card, and when they provide the law that requires the demandant to get or use a credit card or a debit card or even a bank account for their electronic filing agenda, and when they provide the law that requires the demandant to get government-issued identification papers or plastic, as required by the Bankster Buddies, as required by the District of Columbia electronic filing. And when they tell Yarborough and Simonton, Yarborough is the FBI special agent in charge and Simonton's the U.S. attorney, to arrest and prosecute the Bankster thieves for their felonies when they close the demandant's bank accounts for failure to provide a Social Security number and failure to provide government-issued identification. when they provide their authority to convert the demandant's right to justice in this matter into a privilege, when they provide a bona fide Article 4 amendment search warrant signed by an Article 3 judge with a court seal as required by the Authentications Act, requiring the demandant to disclose the Social Security number, or disclose a credit card number, or bank account number, or name, or address, or government-issued identification for their electronic filing agenda. The demandant's a man and fails to have a Social Security number that the banksters require for a credit card or a bank account. The demandant is a man and fails to have a credit card or a debit card. The demandant is a man and fails to have a bank account. The demandant is a man and fails to have a government-issued identification card that the banksters require, mostly because the demandant fails to be a government employee. The demandant has filed felony criminal complaints with Chad Yarborough and Leah Simonton and their predecessors against Coinbase, Wells Fargo Bank, Frost Bank, Bank of Texas, Regions Bank, Comerica Bank, Compass Bank, PNC Bank, TD Bank, for their forced KYC, know your customer Social Security number, and government-issued identification requirements after they close the demandant's accounts, some of which have been in place for many years, for failure to provide a Social Security number or government-issued identification, and Yarborough and Simonton and their predecessors absolutely refused to do anything about it. The demandant did file a suit against Wells Fargo in this so-called court as case number 4-14-CV-853A, and the clerks masquerading as judges dismissed it for failure to pay their District of Columbia securities / Federal Reserve notes / IOUs / forced loans / extortion, evidencing their intent to sell their just us and justifying the refusal of Yarborough and Simonton and their predecessors to prosecute the felonies. Anyways, and I go on. The fact that the officers of this so-called court are demanding their impecuniosity interrogatory in their electronic filing scam is proof they failed to be lawful Article 3 judges, but are actually bought and paid for administrative clerks, masquerading as judges, thereby disqualifying themselves, given that the issue in this case, the core issues involve life, liberty, and property. And then here's a bunch of court cases that non-judicial officers cannot perform judicial duties. Judicial functions cannot be delegated to non-judicial entities. Non-Article 3 courts must operate under judicial supervision. Article 3 courts must resolve core constitutional disputes. Anyways, there's a whole bunch of court cases here that talk about that stuff. The demandant has lots of first-hand knowledge of how the officers of this so-called court intend that these wrongdoers named herein and others engage in the theft of the demandant's land, because then they can justify forcing the demandant to give evidence against himself, to force the demandant into their satanic commercial District of Columbia dictatorship. So either way, it's a win-win-win scenario for the Satanist Baal priest officers of this so-called District of Columbia so-called court. The demandant has lots of first-hand knowledge of how the officers of this so-called court intend that the wrongdoers named herein and others engaged in multiple felonies and enslave the demandant because it brings them so much business. And also because they can then assault the demandant with their District of Columbia commercial dictatorship, with their fake money, their bankster thieves, and their electronic filing scam, so they can justify assaulting the demandant with their minor estate, Treasury direct account, and enslave the demandant and steal the demandant's land. The demandant demands that the District of Columbia clerks in this corporate so-called court provide relief against their U.S. citizen wrongdoers named herein, and talks about takings. A taking requires a clear connection to a legitimate government interest. By regulating their property is required by Article 4, Section 3, Clause 2, which is the supreme law of the land, anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. But they're acting as accomplices, busy fabricating evidence, assaulting the demandant with their Commerce Clause, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3, with their electronic filing scam, evidencing their intent to bring their District of Columbia dictatorship outside a maximum of 10 miles square in violation of Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. And this is that Natural Mutual Insurance Company versus Tidewater Transfer Company. But it's nothing personal. It's just business, assaulting the demandant with their color of law minor estate, and then the Satanist Baal priest can call it a contract. And then I kind of go a little bit off the deep end here, but anyways, failure of the bought and paid for clerks masquerading as judges in this District of Columbia so-called court to do their duty to regulate their corporate property, Article 4, Section 3, Clause 2, and failure to vigorously prosecute them for their felonies might result in the demandant resisting their slavery scam with lethal force if necessary, and by hunting the wrongdoers down to complete a commercial transaction by blowing their fucking brains out, since they want to do a commercial transaction so bad and call that a contract. And if the wrongdoers kill the demandant when he resists their slavery with lethal force if necessary, the Satanist bail priest officers of the so-called court get to pillage all the fake money in the minor estate treasury direct account for themselves and their thieving bankster buddies under the Hague Convention concerning the international administration of the estates of deceased persons, concluded 2nd of October 1973, which is what they've intended from the beginning, as evidenced by the minor estate treasury direct account, which is a dead thing, which means it is a win-win-win scenario for the officers of the sole court and their bankster handlers, which evidences their refusal to prosecute the 78 felonies, because it has nothing to do with the law, which these Satanist bail priests have nothing but contempt for, but it's political. And they're giving aid and comfort to the enemy in a time of war, and when the demandant turns up dead, this document will be the demandant's deathbed testimony. The demandant's a cantankerous old part and has lots of aches and pains, and the sooner he's out of this fucking hole, the better, with thieves everywhere, especially in the fake government and government employees that perjure their oaths at the drop of a hat, and the bought and paid for clerks masquerading as judges in this so-called court, and the demandant's conscience is clear, and he is ready to meet his maker. So go ahead, make my day. We were all here before the universe was created, and we'll all be here when it goes away, and before God, angels, and anyone who reads this as a witness, the demandant shakes the dust of the earth from off his feet against these wrongdoers named herein and the officers of this District of Columbia so-called court, Mark 10 and 14, Matthew 10 and 14, Mark 6 and 11, Luke 9 and 5, and we'll all be talking about this before the judgment seat of the true God on Judgment Day. And that was the end of it. So I kind of railed there towards the end. But anyways, I mean, you can use most of that and cut out the stuff you don't want to use. But so a lot of it is pretty good, I think.
Yeah, last week I gave you a hard time about the ending of that, but you know what? I thought about it all week, and like I mentioned, I've been there. I know that feeling. I got an idea of what you can use about their nosy Nelly letter. If they do request it properly, you can just write private man or private instead of NA. Just an idea.
Oh, the impecuniosity form?
Yeah, just say you're private.
Yeah, well, this actually worked pretty good. I haven't heard a peep out of them about the filing, about the impecuniosity, but I did pay that filing fee. But I haven't heard a peep out of them about the impecuniosity form and the electronic filing scam. I haven't heard a peep out of them about that either. And the judge he's helping me. He gives me time to file responses. He'll give me an order saying that I have to respond by this time, and which is more than the 2 weeks that it says in the
14
rules.
days, yeah, 14 days. So
yeah.
What's this judge's background? Have you run
I don't know.
profile on him?
No, not really. He's I think he's sympathetic. I think that there's actually some judges in this court that are sympathetic. There was one judge that actually got appointed to the Court of Appeals, but what happened is I was filing criminal complaints into the Dallas division. Okay, this is the Fort Worth division of the Northern District of Texas. I was filing criminal complaints into a case in the Dallas division of the Northern District of Texas. And the judge took an interest and opened a new case and sent me an order of deficiency telling me I had to pay the filing fee and file a lawsuit. And so I think that they some of that stuff that they took an interest in it and told me I had to file a lawsuit. And so
it sounds like they've accepted it, right? Because in this country you have to, well, if you don't have an arbitration clause in whatever contract you've signed, you have to write to the court to see if they'll even hear your case.
Yeah, I know.
Right? So they've accepted it.
You know what I think is happening in Canada? It's the same thing that's happening here, and it's a little bit harder to prove there. It's easier to prove here. But if you go into the Canadian Constitution, the courts are found under certain articles, okay, under there's a provincial and federal rights, federal jurisdiction, and the courts, none of the courts are the proper courts. They're all administrative. They're all bills of attainder. Matter of fact, I'm going to help my brother bring that issue up with a case that he's involved in, and they're none of the courts are real courts. They're all administrative. People, it's harder to prove there. Here, it's easy to prove because it's an Article 3 court, and so, or it's supposed to be. But there's that case that I just gave you at the beginning, saying that this court's not an Article 3 court. It's dealing with regulating the property of the United States, and so I think that it's easier. It's definitely easier to prove here. The Constitution, you know, the founding fathers were brilliant when they wrote that Constitution, and you know, I'm glad I'm not in communist Canada, I'll tell you. And I kind of, my brother, I still have family living up there, and you know, they have to deal with it. I'm glad I don't. Although I'm actually going to file a war crimes complaint against Canada border pigs, and but I'll file it in the U.S. federal court, and let them come and answer to U.S. You know, and we'll see what happens. I'll file it against I'm going to file it against the U.S. Embassy in Calgary, because they are accomplices to the Canada border pigs, and that'll fucking shake shit up, I guarantee you. Great.
There's ways too of working with them, so I'll let you inform you about how that operates. So there's just certain ways and certain words and avenues you have to take, and you have no issue. But you know, going to all the big major border passes where all the newbies are in training, that's when they, you know, you get all that ego. So there's ways around that, and I'll inform you on the flip side.
Yeah, no problem. When you come here, we can talk about it. I'm still going to go after the U.S. Embassy in Calgary for war crimes, and I'll add in. I'll create an international incident. That's what I'll do, and the shit'll hit the fan when that happens.
Yeah, I don't want to see that happen.
I do. I want to see it happen.
I'm trying to mute myself. I don't want anybody to hear me laughing.
Anyways, is there? I got to step aside. You know, I've been drinking tea, so in one, in and out the other. You know what I mean? But if there's anything anybody wants to talk about, I'm open to anything right now.
Well, I have an engineer question before you step away, but no, stay. If anybody has any questions about this electronic filing or whatever Glenn's brought up tonight, please bring it forward, and we'll let Glenn continue on with his holiday.
I guess if everyone's in agreement, that Glenn enjoy his holiday.
No, I think he said he had to step away just for a sec. He's going to come back.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, because I have an engineer question.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I hear you.
I'll have a question too. Thank you.
May I?
Go ahead. Yeah, please. I'm trying to mute
Greetings.
my mic, but it's...
Oh, no problem. Greetings to all. Let me know when you're ready, and I'll start. It's not long.
My phone's not allowing me to hit the button, so please go ahead.
The question that I have, the name of the form that Glenn is called. I can't really pronounce. pronounce that word right now. Impunious. I'm not sure, but can I look at the first word, that term, in the Black's Law Dictionary, or is it?
Please. Please.
He said an impune.
The impecuniosity form. It's a pauper's affidavit.
Oh, is that like an IPF? I mean, an IFP? An IFP?
Well, yeah,
Informal paupers.
Yeah. Impecuniosity.
Okay. So, how do you spell it?
Impecuniosity or informal pauperous?
No, impuni. The word that you said before the IFP.
Impecuniosity. IMPECUNIOSITY.
Thank you, beloved.
Let me see if I can. I think it's on that form. It's informal pauperous, but I could have swore impecuniosity is on that form somewhere. Anyways, I'm not seeing it on there. I mean, if you want to, I can upload the form if you want to, you know.
I'll do my sourcing of information. Thank you very much.
Okay, no problem. It's an IFP, informal pauperous form, right? I don't know where I got the impecuniosity thing, but that's maybe it used to be called that or something.
No problem. Thank you so much.
Not a problem. Glad to help.
Eric, did you have a question for Glenn? Eric thought that you had gone and started to enjoy it. Okay, good. So we don't want to inhibit your holiday any further, and you've given us 2 hours here. Thank you so much, Glenn.
Hello.
Yeah, no problem.
Go ahead, Eric. Sorry, I thought you stepped away.
No, well, I kind of, and then I was hearing my name and I was running to the phone. The question would be, I think in one of your videos, you and Corey Fullman speak together.
I don't think so.
No? Or... Well, then, I apologize. I thought you guys probably spoke in a video together. I thought I heard you guys together.
Corey,
the tax guy, the Corey Foreman, I think his name is. Or I might be mistaken.
I don't think so. I don't know. The name sounds familiar, but that's about it.
Are you referring to Zellman? Carrie Zellman?
No. Carrie Zolman. I definitely have spoken with Carrie Zolman for sure.
Oh, okay. Then it's Zolman. I thought it was Carrie Fullman or... I apologize.
But I did the same thing, Eric. I did the same thing about a month ago when we were speaking on him. So don't feel bad because Carrie is, he was on the scene for, quite some time, and then he's dropped off a bit now due to health issues. So we don't get to hear his last name as often as we should. But yeah, Glenn's very good close friends with him. So Yeah, bring forward any questions you have about those videos, because we like to hear about them again.
Yeah, just to let you know, I've been binge watching your videos throughout my work days. A lot of
Okay,
info.
well, that's good.
Yeah. The question I have is with Corey Zolman. He was speaking about he had like a small dictionary of 40 words, or like a couple of pages with 40 words on it.
The glossary, right?
Yeah, that glossary. Would it be possible to get a copy of that or something? Because it's just I want to study those words and why he picked them.
They're just standard law dictionary definitions. They'll never use them anyways. But
Okay.
I'll see if I can. I have it. I'll see if I can find it here and upload it.
Oh, sweet. Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to study why those words and why he was picking those words and how to talk with them. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I'm looking for it right now. I'll see if I can upload it. It's 4 pages.
You saw that video, didn't you, Eric? Where he's mentioning and speaking about it. It was very powerful.
Oh yes. It's because even when for the last couple of these last 4 years or 5 years I've been studying, I've been noticing that the words have a certain power, and then you have to really write in a certain way, and that's what it was. Yeah, I was that about it. Thank you.
Yeah, I uploaded it, so.
Geez, I had to go through Yahoo crap to get it. Well, you're lucky, Eric. Thank you, Glenn.
Now, if you're going to be watching my videos, the best place to do it from is my website, because I've got links to almost all of the videos on my website organized by topics. And otherwise, you won't.
I'm actually doing that off your website, and I'm in your pigs video. Yeah, I've started from the top all the way to that part of it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, thank you, though. Thank you very much. Appreciate it very much.
See, Glenn, you have that effect on folks. You make us think about videos that we've seen 5 years ago. So you have that effect on.
You know, nobody knows everything, and it's a networking thing. And so I feel like I have to say something, or I'll be held accountable on Judgment Day. So that's my motivation is completely selfish.
No, it's not. Can I ask my engineer question now, just because it's going to be helpful for all these folks? And I know you know it. You know about it. Okay, so you know how the pilot who's, getting ready to take his flight, he checks out all of his equipment, of course, right? The first thing that he checks is his propeller, right? Okay, he's stranded out in the middle of nowhere, and he sees a dip on his propeller. What substance does he have in his toolbox that's the hardest substance known to man that's going to fix that propeller and make him fly on? Do you know what it is?
This sounds like a joke, actually.
No, it's totally serious. Do you have
what kind of a ship is it?
John, you're finally here. I've been inviting you all night. Well, it's for any pilot. They get, of course, commercial pilots have mechanics that go and check out all of the equipment and make sure everything's good. But when you're a bush pilot and you've cracked something or you're a propeller, you've got a chip in your propeller. That's pretty serious shit, right? So what substance or do you have on board that you can fix your propeller with?
Some sort of
that's going to give you
some sort of an epoxy resin.
Yeah, it turns into resin. It's the hardest substance known to man, I'm told. I've Googled it. It says, it claims it is. I've used it. I'm not a bush pilot. I'm not a pilot. I am a captain of a boat, and I've used it on a propeller on a boat. So, Glenn, do you have any idea what that is? That substance is. It's 2 items.
No, actually, a lot of it depends on how bad the chip is, because a lot of propellers have little nicks and stuff in them, and they are just fine. And what they do, I can tell you right now, is they get a file out and they dress them out, and then it's just fine. But anyways, go ahead, tell us.
Okay, it's 2 substances. It's going to turn into a joke in a minute. That they have in their toolbox. One of the items is crazy glue. The other item is baking soda. Okay, you mix that together like as you would a resin. Okay, it hardens on that chip on your propeller, and it hardens like it hasn't even have a crack. So why I brought it up is because you're an engineer, and I wondered if you had that in your toolbox. That's just a crazy way my mind thinks. And how it turns into a joke is because I had that in my toolbox. And I had a character close by that toolbox that assumed that white powder was something else.
Oh.
So I just wanted you to be cautionary if you had that in your toolbox, but I hope I enlightened it.
The thing is that on airplanes, an airplane, when it has to go flying, a boat, when it goes out into the harbor, the worst case that happens is the propeller doesn't work and the boat still floats. And they have to get on the radio and call for help. But with an airplane, once it's airborne, if the propeller doesn't work, they got to find a place to land really quick, or they're going to be in a real bad way. And so there's things that are certified by the FAA. I've never heard of such a repair authorized by the FAA, and I doubt that there is one. I know that with airplanes and the propeller, that I've seen them dress out nicks and things like that with a file, and within limits. There's certain limits, and so you're allowed certain limits to dress things out. Now, I can also tell you that I've heard stories about, helicopters, which, the rotor in a helicopter is kind of like a propeller, although it's a lot bigger. And I've heard stories of helicopters in Vietnam getting 4 feet shot off the blade. And of course, that's like unserviceable. But they fly that thing anyways, because when you're getting shot at, you don't worry about a little bit of a vibration. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt. You're under duress at that moment, twofold.
So I was just going to add that Glenn does have this special resin in his toolbox, right? He's got No Fear, and that's the glue. And then he's got the law. And you mix those together, and nobody can stop him. Also, a side note, I work on the largest propellers on Earth. Today, I was working on a 400-foot-long wind turbine blade propeller.
Get up in the air?
Not today, but I have many times.
So you know the ropes, the rigs?
Yeah, I was, not anymore. I was a GWO safety trainer, climb assistant trainer. They showed people how to rappel out of the top of a 300-foot tall wind turbine with the victim and not hurt yourself or the victim anymore. But yeah, I was just saying that Glenn actually does have the perfect resin. That's the hardest thing on earth: righteousness, no fear, and the salt of the earth, right? The law.
Well put, Rick. Yeah, he's a hard substance to break. Thank you, Glenn.
Well, thank you. It's a networking thing, and quite frankly, all they do is get me pissed off. because I know that what they're doing is not right, and it just makes me mad, and so then I double down.
Well, enjoy your antidote on that boardwalk, okay?
I will, and I'll be thinking about you guys and wish you were here, and maybe next year or next. I'll be back here again in like April or May.
Hey, Glenn, just one more thing, if it's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, I've seen on your videos that you reference Mark Passio. I just wanted to know that I studied Mark Passio for like 5 years straight, and I translated his work into Spanish, and that's where I came to learn about the definition of words through him and everything. So I was surprised that you also knew who he was with the order following and everything, but very much appreciated with all your work, man. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And Mark Passio is a brilliant guy, man. That guy he took Latin in high school, and he's brilliant. So I give credit where credit is due. I mean, he certainly deserves respect for his accomplishments, and you know, it's all part of our awakening, mankind's awakening that's happening right now. I mean, I'm part of it. I think that I was born for this. I think that he was probably born for this too. I mean, we're all here. We're all born for a time such as this, and we're here to fight the battle, and we're gonna run off these criminals, and mankind is going to be on a new course, and it's happening right now in front of us.
Amen, brother.
Hallelujah.
All right. Well, I guess.
Okay, I'm going to send you that stuff that we talked about the AAMVA.
Okay, yep, I got that. I was on that website, so, but yeah, go ahead and send me, what you have, and I guess maybe we'll see you, after the 1st, I guess, eh?
Well, yes, and then next Friday we should maybe do something live.
Yeah, for sure.
Perfect.
Now, one thing that I'm hearing, something big is going to happen. They're talking about a big stock market crash happening on the 28th. 28th or 29th or thereabouts. That's Monday. That's this coming Monday is the 28th. And they're talking about that's the 30th, the 95th anniversary of the 1929 stock market crash. So they're saying that something might happen that day.
Is it a Monday?
Yeah.
So technically, it's crashed already right now. If they were going to do that, they would crash it over the weekend, and then when we weren't expecting it, it would show up on a Monday. Yeah, that's what I heard.
I don't know. I guess we'll see. So, all I can say is, I'm not keeping any money in the bank. And because it's going to be huge. All the stuff that if it happens like they're saying it's going to happen, it's going to be, comparable to 1929. There'll be suicides. There'll be all sorts of stuff, all before the election. Okay, there's going to be huge things that's going to happen before the election, and matter of fact, the election might not even happen. So I guess we'll see. We're a captive audience.
I was going to ask you, what's your view? Are you still thinking it's not, or what's your take? Is it going to occur, or what? How do you feel about it?
I don't know. I think that Trump is commander-in-chief, has always been commander-in-chief. I think that the Biden show is just, it's just a big show that's for the normies to wake people up. And this P. Diddy stuff, there's huge stuff that's coming out about this P. Diddy stuff. And Kamala mixed up in it. She's a whore, and she was involved in it. and so I guess we'll see. I don't know how it's going to play out, but That's why I say we're in there's a huge change happening. We're part of it because we're part of the awakening. And so, how it all plays out, it's who knows. But what I'm hearing is there's going to be something big that's going to happen Monday. And if it doesn't happen, it's like going to be on the 95th anniversary. It was the 29th of October. I think it was the 29th in 1929 when the stock market crashed. And so it could be Tuesday too. So we'll see. It's Halloween is a devil's holiday, and so that's all I'm saying is be aware. I wouldn't keep any money in the bank. Who knows what's going to happen if they're talking about silver going to $65, and if silver goes to $65, Bank of America will be bankrupt because they got a whole bunch of they're rigging the price of silver, and so how it all plays out, I have no idea, but I have a Bank of America account, and I'm going to take I got a little bit in it. I got about $80 in there. So I'm going to get out what I can. And, that's all you can do. And, we'll see what happens. We're all pawns in the big game of chess.
That's interesting. You said that. I've got Bank of America too, unfortunately. And something weird happened with my bank account. I know what my PIN is. My PIN has been the same thing for 15 years. I've had this account for 20. My PIN's not working. And I can use my card. I can use it for credit. But anytime I go to use it as debit, which I don't normally do, but I tried it once, my PIN is not operational. I can't get another PIN. I got to go to a location to get it. What does that stop me from doing? That stops me from pulling out money from the bank.
Yeah, interesting. When did that happen?
Just yesterday and today. It's
Wow.
the first time that it shut down. My PIN is not operational.
Wow, that's good to know. So I'll have to give that a shot. I got to go on now. That got me curious. I got to go see it, make sure my PIN's working. But the thing is with mine, I don't have a social security number associated with my bank account, so that might change it. I guess we'll see. So at any rate, it's there's a Chinese curse. May you live in interesting times. We're definitely living in interesting times, and so we'll see. Just wanted to make you guys aware. There's possibility of something huge happening here the first of next week. So we'll see. They're talking about some of the stuff I heard about as suicides, and some of the suicides were not voluntary suicides. In other words, if you think about it, you're in some high rise in downtown New York, and some manager screws up and loses you $1 billion, then all of a sudden, he gets thrown out the window. You know what I mean?
Yep, like the CEO of Bed Baths and Table. That's what happened to him in New York recently.
Is that right?
Well, they were saying something about our SEDA-QV Social Security accounts being hacked, not being able, for some reason, once they're hacked, they can't be exploited the same way that they were in the past. That's all I heard about it, but I'm looking into it.
Well, food for thought. You never know. That's one of the things I sued, is that minor estate Treasury Direct account in this lawsuit. And so I have heard, and I don't know, I guess I'm going to find out, but I've heard that when you do that, a lawyer will show up and he'll write you a big fat check. Now, I don't know how much it's going to be, and I told them they can put it up the rectal orifice for all I care. And I just want that thing dissolved and liquidated. And so, we'll see what happens. But that's what I heard.
Is the defendant the Department of Treasury in that situation, or the
Janet
TDA?
Yellen. Janet Yellen.
The big players.
Yeah, in a private capacity. I just go after them in their private capacity. So then they have to hire a lawyer. They can't use a government lawyer, and it costs them a hell of a pile of money. And so then they think twice about fucking with me next time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, I would. I was just going to say the same thing.
Glenn, I got to thank you again. One of the things that you do is you share so many documents with us, which contain all the relative cases, you give us a plethora of examples to back up everything that you're saying. And I'm using them myself, and I've got a whole Glenn Fern file folder where I'm keeping everything that you're sharing, because anytime I have a question that pertains to something, I've got 20 examples and you've got all the case laws. I know that takes a lot of time to do, and I just wanted to tell you thank you for putting that together for us and all your documents.
Not a problem. If you get a bill, then slip me something.
Copy that, for sure.
All right. Take care, you guys. We'll talk to you next week.
Enjoy that holiday. I look forward to your pictures.
Thanks, Glenn.
All right.
Aloha.
Take care.
Yeah.
John, I was hoping you were going to come on earlier.